This is in response to Billy's Talking Points memo from Wednesday, May 3rd, 2015. Get ready for the underclass. Now, Billy's going to start right out on this thing, and I'm just going to say right ahead of time, he's not going to show any solutions. He's only going to talk about the problems. Let's talk about some solutions by identifying what the problems are. He only wants to identify the worst of the worst. So he does a couple poll things. Most people are not happy with the way things are going, and the things that needed to be changed most, one of them was education of 17%. And of course, the reason, of course, is we need to blame the public schools. That's why everyone's so upset about about education, and we need to fix the educational school system because it's broken. And it's not broken. It needs to be tweaked. It needs to be worked on. It needs to be continually worked on. You know, every single day and every single year, we're graduating hundreds of thousands of kids from high school, and we want them to know things. We want them to learn things. As I used to say to my kids, you know, the reason why you go to college is not for what you necessarily have to learn. It's the fact that they understand that you can think. So when you get an assignment, you have to think about what you have to do, and you have to come up with a solution. And that's what college is all about. That allows you to learn how to think. And that's what education's biggest thing is to learn how to think, as opposed to what we're doing in terms of educational testing. Standardized testing is we want to see what they know, but what they know doesn't necessarily give them the ability to learn how to think, how to solve problems. But Billy doesn't want to go into anything like that. So, you know, he wants to blame the public school system, and he brings up somebody in Minnesota, some kid hit him. The kid was in 4th grade. They went to the teacher. He didn't want the kid to get arrested, but the kid came back to class in 10 minutes. And so Billy thinks that blacks are being, obviously he was a minority student. Obviously Billy thinks that blacks are treated special, and that they do not have to obey the rules. So he brings in one instance from one person, and then he also brings in some educational training courses that particular school system has paid $3 million to do. I believe I would call it a little bit more in terms of sensitivity training, understanding that children who go to school hungry can't learn. Children who go to school who have been battered can't necessarily learn. And that we need to be aware of that. Sensitivity is a different thing, but the thing is, we need to know these things. Teachers need to know these things so that they can help better educate their students. But Billy doesn't want to look at it that way. He just wants to look at it that someone broke the rules, they didn't get punished for it, so they feel that they're entitled and that they're not held to standards. And that's why the public school system is going to hell into a handbasket. And of course, the market is going to take those kids down because they're all going to flunk out of school and they're not going to have the skills necessary, and the market is going to crush them. And of course, Billy ends by talking about it being a racist educational system because the programs that they are doing actually hurt black children that will only cause additional poverty and chaos. And he pities the poor kids. But let me get into at least one little thing about all of this. Again, Billy did not provide one single solution to it. He only brought up the problem, which is what his specialty is, and that he's telling his audience that the public educational system sucks, and that black children are being exempt from, discipline, structure, because they can do whatever they want to get away with it. Maybe he's going to have a segment coming up soon, or having some guests on soon who are going to be pushing charter schools. And let's remember, you know, with all of the things that have been coming up, especially in terms of police violence on unarmed black men, also the fact that we do not have a good jobs program for a lot of these places in the inner city, whereas when manufacturing places left the Rust Belt, in places like Cleveland, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Baltimore, etc., Chicago, that those were manufacturing jobs that paid good wages, and when they left the inner city and they went overseas or they went down south, there was nothing there to replace them. and we need to and the areas do not do well, we need to have a whole new look at this. We need to provide good education for our children, because I want our children to be just as well educated as they are anywhere else in the world. And in other places in the world, they are making dramatic efforts to work on education. And of course you could say, oh, well, Norway's a homogeneous society. Well, does that mean we can't do it? Does that mean we shouldn't try? But that's the idea that you're going to get from Billy. Now, there's a lot of things that we got to do in education, and but the most important thing is that we need to understand that we have to teach them how to think, and how to think on their feet. And it isn't just rote memory of things, because I can remember a lot of things, but I can't implement a lot of things. I can't think my way through a lot of things. But this is the challenge for us, and it isn't about one child hitting a teacher. It's about how do we find the best way to educate some of the children in our school systems who have, let's just say, are growing up in very poor households where a number of other issues are also taking place. How can we best work to help this? I don't see anything coming out of that from Billy, because that's what he specializes in, the problem and never the solution.